The Middle Ages weren't deadly just by chance. Death was part of everyday life. There were no warnings, no escape, and no second chances. People didn't just live through hard times. They were surrounded by death constantly. One of the biggest killers was disease. The Black Death swept through Europe between 1347 and 1351, killing up to 60% of the population. Imagine walking into a market and knowing more than half the people there wouldn't survive. The plague spread through fleas on rats, and medieval towns were rat heaven. Garbage filled the streets, waste flowed through alleys, and rodents had free access to homes. Even kings couldn't escape deadly diseases. Medieval doctors believed in bad air, or miasma. They thought avoiding bad smells would keep them safe. Some believed diseases were punishment from God, so they prayed instead of seeking real treatment. Other deadly illnesses like smallpox, tuberculosis, leprosy, and dysentery wrecked bodies and lives. Crowded towns made things worse. Families often lived in one room with their animals. Water was contaminated, so people drank weak beer to avoid getting sick. Medical treatments were dangerous. Bloodletting was common. Doctors drained blood from already weak patients to balance the body. Tools weren't clean between uses, and infections spread quickly. Quarantine meant nailing people inside their homes, sick or not. Children were hit hardest. Many died before their parents even gave them names. Warfare made things even more dangerous. Knights in shining armor looked impressive, but they were still vulnerable. Battles were up close and brutal. Swords, axes, maces. Armor helped, but it didn't prevent infection. Often, the wound didn't kill, the infection afterward did. Medical care on the battlefield was horrific. Amputations were done with dirty tools, no anesthesia, and just something to bite down on. Many soldiers died from shock. Wounded men were left behind if they couldn't keep up. Looters often scavenged bodies, robbing and killing the survivors. Food wasn't reliable either. The Great Famine from 1315 to 1317 devastated crops. Cold, wet weather ruined harvests, and fields turned into mud pits. People ate moldy bread, bark, and even dirt. Food prices exploded. A loaf of bread could cost a week's wages. Even the rich couldn't buy what didn't exist. Parents gave their food to children, starving themselves. Some abandoned their kids at monasteries, hoping they'd get fed. People ate pets, leather, and garbage. Riots broke out, and bandits roamed the countryside. Recovering from famine could take years. Living conditions were awful. Most homes were one-room huts made of sticks, mud, straw, and animal waste. Families lived alongside pigs, goats, chickens, not just for food, but for warmth. Fleas, lice, and rats were everywhere. Floors were packed dirt covered in straw that rarely got changed. Hygiene was nearly non-existent. People believed bathing too often was dangerous, so they barely washed. Dental care didn't exist. Teeth rotted, broke, and fell out early. Travel only made disease spread faster. Roads were muddy and dangerous. Bridges were often broken or missing. Merchants, pilgrims, and soldiers carried diseases to every new place they visited. Ships were full of rats. Ports became hubs for spreading illness. Inns and taverns were perfect places for sickness to spread. Strangers shared beds, food, and facilities. Nobody knew how fast or far disease could travel. Politics didn't help. Lords and kings were constantly fighting over land and power. Instead of laws, disputes were often settled with swords. Courts were corrupt. Bribes decided verdicts. Trials could literally be fights to the death. Local armies sometimes turned into gangs when they weren't paid. Witch hunts and false accusations tore communities apart. Fear spread like wildfire. When leaders fought, no one was left to protect trade farms or roads. Some nobles ate their seed grain just to survive, which guaranteed more hunger the next year. So, why were the Middle Ages so deadly? Because everything, disease, war, famine, filth, and chaos, hit people all at once. It wasn't one disaster. It was a constant, crushing combination of threats. And yet people still survived. They endured and built the foundations for the modern world brick by painful brick.